Someone just camped down on our Twitch.
You should.
We told him it was weird. We told him we were first, and the feed cleared out.
Yeah, I believe it. You don't have to be so mean all the time.
What?
Do we need that door closed? We're gonna.
Door closed, we need the rabble rousers out of here. We're good.
Oh, right. Rabble rouser.
The rabble rousers.
The rabble rousers.
Listen. Does Max know what he's doing?
I don't know, maybe.
Yes, Max always knows what he's doing. You trust his judgment.
Okay.
Anyway, Billy, introduce yourself. Talk about what you're working on today.
Billy, I just want to let you know we're all counting on
But there's like no one. There's no one to introduce myself to.
Just go over. There's people. What are you talking about? There's 500 people in the stream.
Well, this is actually gonna go out later, right? As a video.
Yeah.
Maybe. Perhaps. What am I working on today? Well, I'm working on a new poster illustration. It is that time again. We have a new archetype that we've debuted in pieces, and we're gonna have a much more comprehensive overview of her capabilities and stuff. I think maybe sometime at the end of the year, maybe early next year, we'll actually have a breakdown of like her powers and stuff. She's really exciting, and I'm talking about the Templar. Templar's been one of my favorites since the beginning, and I've been wanting to do a piece of her ever since we launched the Kickstarter, and so this one's really exciting for me personally. So right now we're kind of really early in the process of making this illustration. And forgive me if I go over the same kind of things a couple times just in case people are tuning in late. But what I'll do is I'll start off with a pencil sketch. This is something I just loosed up in my sketchbook, and I don't really go too tight with it because I know that I'm going to scan it in and then clean it up. So this is the cleaned up sketch. And then the idea behind this one is that the whole thing about the Templar is that she draws her energy and power from like the holy light of Archon. I think it's Archon. Archon. The sun god, essentially. And so she's kind of like the follows the same god, but from a different doctrine as the Confessor. So they both kind of draw their energy, but in different ways. And so she uses like holy magic. And so the whole idea with this this illustration is that she's got this power behind her that's kind of like pushing her hair out and kind of blowing this banner, this tassel that's at the bottom of her sword kind of around just to kind of give it some energy. And once I get my sketch in place, then I'll go into Adobe Illustrator, which is kind of like my tool of choice. And then I kind of set the sketch in place as my reference. And then I'll trace over it with vector lines. So then here's what my vector line art looks like. And when I go into this stage, I change a lot of details. So you can see there's a number of minor things that I decided to do a little differently in her face, and kind of the details in her hand are a little muddy here. And when you work in vector, you have to be pretty precise with how you draw these details. And so I might even change these as we go, depending on how things shape up. Same thing with the face. Like there's a certain intensity and maturity in the sketched face that I'm not quite getting in the vector face yet, but that's the beauty of vector, is I can kind of go back and forth and update the face as I move along in the piece. So I'm just gonna be working on this thing, maybe talking sporadically about some of the things we're doing in the game recently. There's not a lot I can talk about just because I have like 3 major UI projects that are going to come online in the coming weeks that I think everyone's going to be really, really excited about, but I'm not really allowed to talk about that.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. So yeah.
Sorry, Billy, I'm going to move closer to you so that I can actually be heard on the stream.
Yeah. We should talk. I'm really excited. I'm seeing Rogue One tonight, and it was funny. Just a few weeks ago, I was telling Dave Greco how much I didn't care about Rogue One and how I think I'm done with Star Wars or that I'm done with Disney kind of leading me around, you know, like a sheep for all these brands and IPs. And I'm like, you know what? I'm starting to feel like they're taking advantage of me. And then I basically renounced my fandom for Star Wars and Disney and stuff. And like literally like a week later, I'm like, I got tickets to Rogue One. Heck yeah.
I don't have my tickets yet. I really screwed that one up. I want to see it quite badly.
Spoiler alert. Anakin hates sand. I don't know if you knew that.
Are you gonna do your pod racer Sebulba voice? Your
Anakin. Cha-cha-cha chubi-chawa. That's Sebulba. He's a Doug, an especially dangerous Doug. I'm a good actor. I only need one take. Man, I feel bad. I don't want to make fun of Jake Lloyd. He's had a tough life. Oh, poor guy. I hope he's not alone on Christmas. There was a rumor going around a while back that he had died or that he had gone to jail or something for like traffic violation. But yet again, it was just fake news.
You always hear that kind of news about child stars.
It's kind of sad, like, you know, who are they bothering? You know, no one's sticking up for the child. No one's sticking up for Macaulay Culkin.
I was about to bring up Macaulay Culkin. I'm glad that you did. Actually, it has nothing to do with Crowfall, so I'm not super glad you did. But
I
was
know,
thinking it.
I might get chewed out later for going off topic here and stuff. But seriously, like I'm working on a lot of UI designs and revamps and stuff that we're just not showing. So what I'm doing today is I am working on a little bit of fun. So from time to time, I get to do some illustration, which is where I got my start in the games industry. I did a lot of game marketing illustration and UI illustration, icons and stuff. And on Crowfall, I get to do a lot of that, but most days I am kind of in Unity working on implementation, right? And so a little light scripting, nothing too heavyweight. You know, we have a pretty crack shot engineering team that saves my butt almost every time. But most days I don't get to have a lot of artistic fun like this. So yeah, so I'm just gonna play a little bit, you know. It's the end of the year, things are kind of winding down, and we have a lot to be thankful for. We had an amazing year this year in terms of just community support and, you know, us actually being able to deliver on most of the things that we said that we were gonna put out there, and, you know, being really diligent as a team about this game and this product. I mean, no one's working here that isn't really passionate about what we're doing. So I think it's showing. I think the latest releases have been hopefully really eye-opening to the people who were maybe doubting our direction or maybe questioning our ability to deliver. I'm really hoping that that we can go into 2017 with everyone feeling really strongly about kind of the direction we're taking and what Crowfall is going to end up looking like in 2017, because there's still a lot to come, but it's all kind of coming together and feeling really good.
Yeah, and Big World was a huge, it was like an adrenaline burst for us in here. I mean, it really was. It was like I think it both reinvigorated the community and it reinvigorated the studio. And everybody has more of a hop in their step since Big World came out.
Well, I come from a online gaming background, and most of the games I've worked on have been really small, so you get to kind of make them in private. You don't really have to be so public and outward facing with your progress and your roadmap and stuff. And so it's taken a while to get used to that level of transparency, and, you know, you feel really vulnerable, but I really think that there's nothing like putting out a product and then seeing how people take it in and receive it, and, you know, getting the feedback. And, you know, some of it's pretty critical, but, you know, at first I used to get really nervous about that, because then I was like, oh no, they don't like it, or you know, we're messing up. But if people are being really critical about your product and still sticking around, it's because they care, and that's the type of audience that really gives you energy to, you know, to do this, because this is a very intense project and we're working at a really fast pace. So it really helps to know that there's people out there that care and are rooting for us.
And on that note, Donnie Hawes says, this game is going to be amazing. Please take all the time you guys need to make this game a truly fun, enjoyable MMO.
We will. I'll say this. I think that if there's a I think we're at a point now where our team size is too big to be like a super nimble indie, but we do have a lot of constraints that small teams have that other larger, more established teams don't have to deal with every day. So it does make us more creative, and I think it adds a lot of stress and pressure. But I think the final product is going to be better because we had to work within a lot of those constraints. So thanks. Was that Donnie, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Donnie.
So do you want to walk us through how you start? Well, I'm almost tempted to wait until 11, just to make sure that
Yeah,
nobody
I
misses that
think
part.
if anyone's on right now, just thanks for tuning in early. I'm just kind of going. Right now, there's nothing much to talk about. I'm just working through. There's a lot of steps to making these illustrations. In fact, let me pull open some of the other ones that I've done so people have some context here.
Sure, I think that'd be good.
The last one I did was where are you? The Minotaur, the Myrmidon. Myrmidon was really fun. And I think I covered that in the last time I streamed. I don't know that I actually worked on it live. I think I just kind of went over the final product. So you can see here, when these things are done, they're pretty detailed. And the beauty of vector, anyone who doesn't really understand the difference between like vector and raster, they're kind of technical terms to say. A raster is more like digital painting, where as you're painting on your canvas, you're literally painting pixels. So if you have a 4,000 by 4,000 pixel canvas and you're putting down lines, you're literally drawing pixels on that canvas that are, I guess, constrained to that pixel space. So like, let's say if you scaled that canvas up or scaled it down, those pixels would then have to be regenerated. What vector allows you to do is you think outside of any kind of pixel space. So it is a clean and clear image no matter how close up you get or how far away you get. So I could take this vector image and plaster it on a billboard and it wouldn't look pixelated and grainy. So people usually favor vector art when it comes to graphic design or marketing art, definitely logos and branding. So that's kind of where I started it, and then I just kind of learned the tools enough to now I use it to do kind of more fun character-based artwork.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I feel really good about where the Templar, when these things start, they look pretty basic like this, right? This pretty much looks like a coloring book, right? Really, really basic lines, really basic fills. But by the time I'm done adjusting the little pieces that are off, and by the time I add all the details and the lighting, it's going to have like the richness of this guy. So we're probably not going to get there on the stream. But that's not the goal. The goal is just to hang out for a little bit, talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'll discuss as much as I can about some of the new stuff coming online for Crowfall. But we have a lot of surprises that we want to still keep until they're ready. So Max, what are we doing at our Christmas party? Are we karaokeing? Are we playing games? What are we?
I don't think there's going to be karaoke this time around, which is disappointing.
Well,
maybe it's for the best.
I don't know. I have a video of Gordon singing, but I'm not gonna put it out. That one
They won't believe you.
That'll be just for me. When I'm feeling down and I need a little pick me up, I think I'll bring that video up and just know that the world's gonna be okay.
I'm looking forward to that party.
And I'm not making fun of him. I mean, like, it was the most genuine and sweet rendition of, was it Amarillo Till Morning?
Mm-hmm. Amarillo, yeah.
Yeah, it was or By Morning.
By morning, yeah.
Yeah, it just puts me in my happy place.
I don't think anybody could believe that he did that. They probably don't believe us even as we tell them now. It did happen though. I saw it as well. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I showed up late to that, and I kind of had to like power drink, and then I got my courage, and I did a little karaoke, which was fun. Doing some rap rock.
But yeah, no karaoke at this party.
That's okay. I mean, we could just do it a cappella.
It's better that way.
Yeah, people like that, right? You doing anything for the holidays, man?
I am. I'm going to London.
What?
I know.
What's in London?
A lot of things are in London. Just a family trip. I'm really excited about.
Do you think they go by Londonites? Londonese?
I haven't really.
Lundish?
I haven't really thought about it.
Lundish?
I'd be interested to know if people in chat, anybody who's from Europe would know.
Is it Lundish?
I don't think it's Lundish.
Londonian.
It's closer, probably.
God, I so hope I'm not like offending anyone. I'm trying to be catty. I can never tell these days.
I don't think they like red coats anymore. Maybe they did. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know that I've ever used that term.
Well, it's a Revolutionary War term.
All I'm saying is right now you're the one who sounds like the bad guy.
Yeah, that's fair. I usually sound like the bad guy.
Right. So what I'm doing right now is I am taking all my vector shapes and giving them little colors. For anyone who knows art or comic book art in particular, this is the flatting process. I'm just kind of setting my base color tones and setting the fills. And eventually I'll add lighting and shadow. But this is mainly so I can get my separations. So I don't want to say too much about her, but she's got some cool mechanics, and she's seriously the Templar is the archetype I've been waiting the longest for, and I'm really excited. And I'm also really nervous because I'm hopefully I didn't build her up too much in my head, but if the design team messes up and she's no fun to play, that's it. No more posters. It's over. It's gonna be the last one. It's gonna be the fond farewell. I'm joking. I'll probably do more posters. I can't help myself.
So it is 11 o'clock. So we are officially starting, even though we started a little bit.
Oh
earlier.
man.
Do you want to reintroduce yourself? Talk about what you do at Crowfall, and I hope they know what we're working on at this point. But
yeah. Okay. Here, hold on. Let me get this all up and going, and so people understand what we're doing today. All right. Hi, I'm Billy Garretsen. I'm the UX design lead for Crowfall. And most days I work on user interface and icons, and I do a lot of prototyping and mock-ups and stuff like that. But today I'm going to be working on an illustration. From time to time, especially when we announce a new archetype, I like to do kind of a one-off illustration that's part of a series of illustrations that I've been doing using Adobe Illustrator. So we call them the Vector Poster Series. You may have seen some of these that I've done already. This is the last one I did. This one's the Myrmidon. This is kind of what they eventually will look like once I add all the details in. But right now, I'm just going to be taking, I guess, the next hour or so just to kind of work through the latest one, since the Templar is being worked on right now. And she's a really exciting character. I actually think that every new character that we introduce is our new best character. Which I thought would have topped out with the Duelist, since he's got so many cool mechanics, but he also has all this amazing like animation, and he's full of character and life. I think once we got him online, I think everyone started seeing the potential for each one of these characters. So I think moving forward, all the characters are going to be super wild. But I'm also, at least in the UI space, I plan on going back to the older characters and then kind of like juicing up their HUDs a little bit with some custom UI that is specific to each archetype. That way, you know, when you're in a knight, you really feel like you're in a knight in the way that when you're in a duelist or a druid, for instance, you've got like unique HUD elements that only that archetype gets. So, anyways, I digress. What we're working on today is this poster, and so real quick kind of run through of how these things come together. I'll do like a really quick and dirty pencil sketch on paper. Sometimes I'll go straight in the computer. But the whole point here is to just kind of get the general gist, right? I'm actually going to change quite a number of these details, and there's a lot of sorts of stuff that's wrong with like proportions and stuff. But I'll scan it in, and then I'll kind of work it up in the digital space to get the composition that I want that'll eventually be taken into Illustrator to vectorize. So the thing I'm going with in this particular poster is, the Templar, her whole shtick is that she's empowered by like holy magic from Arkin. So she's kind of like the counterpart of the Confessor, who also I think aligns themselves with Arkin, but they draw their power in different ways. So the Templars, I think, a little bit more kind of like pure energy, like light energy, and so I'm going to have these kind of like stylized rays coming up from behind her, lighting her and kind of creating some cool interest. Also, it's like that energy is pushing her hair in this little banner kind of all over the place to kind of create a little motion and energy while she, you know, is keeping this really like still pose. I think that her personality is that she's very heroic, very stoic, and then she's devout, so she's like empowered by this light from the gods. So then I'll take that sketch into Illustrator. And this is normally like, you know, here's a sketch, and what I'll do is I will just retrace all these details manually to create my line art layer. So I'll isolate that. So you notice I made a couple of changes when I transferred over to the vector lines, and I'll probably go back and forth. I mean, the thing about vector is it's pretty fluid. Like I say it's a nonlinear process. I think, you know, that's more a technicality, but at any point I can go back and tweak little things here and there because I can isolate the elements. And I just really like the intensity of this sketch, the look on her face in this sketch that I think is a little lost here in the vector, but that's fine. I'll get to that before the end. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of get you up to speed, I've already got my line art done, and I am moving on to the color flats. So I've just kind of blocking in all the different color areas that I'll eventually add lighting and shadow to. And so what I'm planning on doing on the stream is I'm just working through this piece, and along the way, hopefully if you have questions or if you don't mind me kind of having some banter with Max here, just stick around for about an hour. We're just gonna have a little fun. So London, are you just winging it over there, Max?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm so.
Like you don't have like an itinerary or anything. You just kind of
I'm
going.
sure my family has some plans about where they want to go. I've just been so busy with Crowfall and just during the week that I haven't really taken the time to plan anything out. It'll just be like, oh, I'm in London now.
That's how my week's been. I mean, Christmas is next week. I still have some shopping to do.
Yeah,
I got
me
like a thing to do for my kid this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. My parents are coming in town this weekend. It's weird. Like I forgot about all that stuff until like today.
Hey, your parents are coming to visit?
Yeah, my parents are coming to visit. They're in Houston, so it's
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's pretty easy.
That's right. You're what do they call them? Texanites?
Texonian.
Texonians.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, native.
From Houston?
From Houston, yeah. Well, I don't know that I have. I actually think I've gotten more of the drawl
Okay.
living in Austin.
Really?
Yeah. Houston, you can't tell.
It's swampy over there, isn't it?
It can be. Yeah, the summers are pretty brutal.
I heard its climate's kind of like New Orleans.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
There's like bog bears.
What?
It's one of our Crowfall creatures, man.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what am I missing? Is that a thing?
Yeah, it'd be like, I think they would like it over there. I wasn't a huge fan.
I haven't been to New Orleans in maybe a decade, but we used to go all the time. I remember as a kid just being fascinated and almost like obsessed with like Bourbon Street, right? Because you hear all the stories, and when you're a kid, you're like, oh, this is like adult life. This is like risque. I wanna see about it. And then you go back as like an adult, and it's like totally just like fine.
It's still, I mean, it's a blast. It's like a whole nother world.
Tell you what, I'm gonna darken these areas right now so they're not distracting me. Yeah, so back to the piece here. I'm kind of fudging a little bit. She's kind of supposed to be like, drawing her sword back, but also kind of like tilting it forward. So I'm kind of not sure what's happening here with her hands. I think I have hands to play with, and luckily I can, if I wanted to, I can just adjust her hands, one by one if they need to go over or whatever. But I don't know. Let me just get through some blocking, and then I'll figure that out. I always feel bad. I feel like working in this method kind of has made me a little sloppy. But I think it's just more important to just kind of push forward instead of like dwelling on the details, because then you kind of fine tune as you go. I think most artists will probably agree that I think like momentum on a piece is incredibly important, because if you can't get momentum on a piece, then it's really difficult to not just finish, but like get some of the special kind of unplanned things to happen. Little serendipity and goodies like that. Anything, Max?
Anything?
Anything? Any questions? You got any stories? I can keep reminding you and the stream how much of a dummy I must have sounded to Greco a few weeks back when I'm like, hey Dave, guess what? I think I'm done. I think I quit Star Wars. I think I'm tired of feeling like Disney is, controlling me like a puppet, and that they think I'll just buy anything that they put out there. And then like a few weeks after that, my best friend bought us movie tickets, and I remember going, yes, we did it. And then I came in the next day, and I think I might have gloated to Dave. I'm like, hey Dave, guess who's seeing Rogue One?
So you just went immediately and you fell right into Disney's trap.
God, it's the same thing with the NES Classic. So I vowed that I wasn't going to be a consumer pawn, and that I was going to not do the whole camp out for a Nintendo Classic. And then Greg brings his in. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to skip to doing some shading here. Greg brings his in, and it is seriously the coolest thing. It really is a love letter to that console. And I'm like, okay, I'm sold. I gotta have one now, right? So he sends me on this like wild, I feel like I'm not an English native speaker. Is it Wild Goose Chase?
Yeah.
Okay. He says, not he, but he shows me these tools to like track stock at Target and stuff. So then I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna track stock every morning. I'm gonna like look to see, which Targets have some in stock. And so there was one nearby me one day, and so I camped out, and then it ended up being like a hoax or whatever. They didn't have any.
Oh no.
And then I said, well, okay, you know what? I'm done. This is silly. I'm a grown man. I shouldn't do this anymore, right? But then a week later, I got a stock alert that there was a bunch at a Target that was like 30 minutes away. So I drove 30 minutes, and it was like late at night. And the same thing. It's like they didn't have any in stock, and I decided, fool me twice. Fool me twice. That's enough. But if anyone wants to send me an NES Classic, I would gladly take one. The point is, I'm no stranger to renouncing my fanhood only to completely turn back at the drop of a hat. I'm like, nah, man, I don't need an Xbox. Oh, you got some in stock? Cool, man, I'll take 2.
Well, in that case, if you've got them.
Listen, I didn't know you had them. See, that's the difference here. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I'm starting on my shading my shading step. So I've got my flat colors, and now I'm setting a base level of shadow. Right, I'm going to add deeper shadows, but this is kind of like my mid shadow. And going back to the sketch, I really want it to look like she's getting lit by this light behind her, like she's got the light of God kind of like, you know, it's casting on her and giving her strength. So I guess if this is the center focal point, then, you know, we're going to have like a lot of lighting kind of hitting the edges here, and we're going to have this side of the body pretty much in shadow. So the way I do that is I just kind of set this base tone, and then I carve out the highlights. If anyone wants a more technical breakdown or more in-depth breakdown of how I do these, I have a number of time-lapse videos where I discuss in more detail my layer setup and blending modes and stuff. All right, so right now I am just going to carve out lighting. I like starting, it's usually good to kind of start on one of the major areas so that you can kind of see if you're getting the drama, like, you know, the logic of the composition says that the lighting is going to come from this one source kind of here in the center. But if it doesn't really look like it's giving you a lot of good drama, or it doesn't look like it's allowing you to kind of like carve the elements you want, sometimes I'll just fudge and I'll change the light source slightly just to make it look right.
So Belantis said, Billy, you are the Bob Ross of fantasy art.
No way. Thank you. I'll take that as a very big compliment. But no, man. Dave's the Bob Ross around here. He draws the happy trees.
Dave loves Bob Ross.
Dave.
It's his favorite artist.
Dave can't stop watching Bob Ross.
Tinnis asked, and this is maybe a little spoilery, but we'll indulge him. Have you been working on UX and UI for crafting menu improvements that we might be seeing soon?
That's not spoilery to say, of course. We're always working on improvements. There's a lot of really good raw and honest feedback that we've been getting from the latest playtests, and you know it's great because that's what we need to know whether or not we're going in the right direction or if there's things that can be improved. So crafting, so a little insight on, you know, some of the catch-22s of game development and a game like this in particular. You know, it's difficult for us to create, you know, really nice, I'd say, quality of life features for UX until we have a lot of the systems in place, right? So if you polish up a UI before you have all the systems in place, you're probably going to end up having a lot of rework. And so just, you know, that's the catch-22. You know, we're trying to put out a product that feels good, that people want to be a part of, and that, you know, in a lot of ways people have already paid for, right? So it's got to feel polished, but at the same time, you don't want to finalize too much because you want to iterate on it based on the feedback, right? So the things that we're really focusing on moving forward are navigation, making sure that you can get in and out of screens faster, making sure that you can find things that are important to you faster, making sure that, you know, you can customize your layouts to have your own preferences available to you. That's not even just an MMO need. I mean, more and more games these days are being very, very generous with their user customization options because they know that, you know, everyone has different preferences, and some people have disabilities or have certain kind of cognitive needs that require some customization. So we've definitely been working moving forward on those features as well. It's a lot of words to say. Yes, we're improving crafting. Also, you know, what people see when they open up the crafting window right now in that recipe list. I mean, you're seeing an unconstrained list. When we actually have the final game, people are going to have to earn that list through skill mastery and through playing different archetypes and having different disciplines. So a new, like, let's say in the context of like a shipping game, a new user would never be bombarded with so much content. They would be, you know, there would be a much smoother rollout and much more gradual rollout over time. You know what I really want for crafting is I want failures to not look so exciting. I think we need more states.
Failure.
Yeah. Well, what's
Pretty
supposed to happen, and you know, this is polished stuff that we'll get to eventually. Once everything's working, it's so much easier to add the pretty sparkly, juicy bits. But what's really supposed to happen is when that little crystal appears that then breaks and flashes when you succeed at one of your recipes, is it's actually supposed to tint and glow the quality color of the thing that comes out. So it'll be an even more exciting moment when all of a sudden, right at the end, it turns purple and you realize that you're getting an epic.
Look through some questions for you.
Cool, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm just working, and hopefully this is interesting enough. And if it's not, then I'll just talk more about Star Wars.
So at one point, Zelo said, "There's an article on Polygon saying that the NES Classic is in stock on Prime now in Austin," and it was immediately sold out again.
Of course.
So much for that. Val asked, she said, "Billy's mom is from Peru. What is your native language?" I think you made a comment earlier about.
Yeah, my native language is Spanglish. For every English word I learned as a kid, I'd learn the Spanish word, or vice versa, because I was raised by my South American family, and I spent a lot of time living in South American countries. It's a great place. A lot of good food. I was a really fat kid.
What? Let's get back to the language.
I mean, fat, like heavy, like overweight, obese.
Oh yeah, that was ambiguous. Thanks for clarifying. There's a fat kid in all of us, I think.
Yeah.
Tommy's not helping lately with those plates of.
Every single day, he brings in treats.
That guy, man. The whole week he's brought in cookies, and today he had a gingerbread.
You know what he did?
cake.
I think he pulled a pastry heist, and I think what he's doing every day is bringing in little bits of it because he can't eat it all,
Disposing of the evidence.
and he can't unload it all, for profit. So he's just kind of like getting rid of it, and looking like super sweet in the process.
What a jerk.
I'm just saying, man. If you want to pull a pastry heist, maybe ask a fat kid.
We love Tommy. Tommy is building the all of the EK tech behind the scenes. Cool stuff.
That's some of the stuff that I've, Lars and I have been involved with that I'm not going to say too much about, but it's moving forward and it's really cool. Don't mess it up, Tommy.
No pressure.
It's like I'll use the stream to just pass the buck. I mean, it's in the public domain now, right? So can't take it back.
It's true. ¿Puedes hablar español ahora?
See?
Still speaking?
See? See? I'm embarrassed because it's really rough. Every single time I go back home for the holidays and I try to catch everyone up, I'll start in Spanish and then finish in English.
I was gonna ask, when your family visits from Houston, are they speaking Spanish?
my parents are mostly English speakers now,
Gotcha.
but I have plenty of family that lives in Houston that are still very much primarily Spanish speakers. It's great. Even my kid, she's just around it enough now that she's learning Spanish pretty fluently. It's kind of great because her and I will end up having conversations that my wife can't follow, and she feels really left out. I don't know that I care.
Val said, Tommy is going to bake us all into a pie. That's the big plan. It takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Bentley's fritters.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a trap, doesn't it?
It does. I don't trust him.
It's a trap! Come on, let's turn everything back into Star Wars.
It always goes back to Star Wars. It's so firmly embedded in our culture. I mean, we make Star Wars references every day in the office. We're,
I don't
churning out a build.
I don't know.
Stay on target. Like, I mean, it's just constant.
When did we start living in this world where there's like geek explosion every single week now? Today alone, right? We're gonna get Star Wars. We're gonna get the new Mario iOS game.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's awesome.
Wait, is it out?
No, I mean.
Oh,
this phenomenon you're
the
referring
phenomenon.
to.
I'm like, wait, where is it? Where is it? Do I have to camp out for it? Do I have to go to the Apple Store for it?
It's a hoax.
I'm gonna buy. It's like $10, isn't it? I'm gonna buy it. I bought $10 worth of loot boxes the other day when Overwatch
Yeah.
updated.
So did I. I got that Santa Torbjorn skin too.
Nice.
I think they're just handing that thing out to people to get them to buy more loot boxes. Because you're like, oh, feeling lucky. You just hand Blizzard your entire wallet.
Blizzard single-handedly taking down Crowfall.
And the Super Mario World Park in Universal Japan that's opening up. Did you hear about that?
It's not just concepted, like it's actually opening now?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a thing.
Oh, wow.
Nintendo theme park, basically. It looks awesome. And I heard that there were talks of doing a Studio Ghibli one too. All the Hayao Miyazaki films.
Yeah. They have like a museum, don't they?
I believe so. Are you a Final Fantasy fan, Billy?
I play them.
That Erickson wanted to know what your favorite one was.
I like 6 a lot because I like its story and presentation. In fact, of all the ones that I wish that they would remake with big, delicious production values and HD graphics and stuff, I wish they would remake the story for 6 because, like, there's the famous Amano painting of, it was Terra. She's on the Magitech. Is that what they're called? Magitechs? The walkers, the robots, overlooking the city. And then you see like the pixel art, and it's far from that vision, but you kind of put 2 and 2 together and your brain makes it real. But if we could realize that vision with today's graphics, that would be so pretty.
It does have awesome art. I think 12 is probably my favorite I've played.
What I really like about 6 too is that every character, there was a lot of characters, but every character had a unique gameplay mechanic. That really changed the way that your party makeup felt and your abilities would grow from there. There's a lot of good secrets in it. It was a really long game too, which back when I was a teenager and I had time, that was awesome. Nowadays I'm like, I will pay $60 for a game that I can beat in 8 hours, and be happy, because I like beating games and I don't beat enough games anymore.
I don't either. I'm so bad about that.
Hey Billy, you want to get some tacos for lunch today, man? I'm really craving some tacos.
I don't want any tacos, but I'll take an egg bowl.
No deal.
No deal? That was my my mistress, Eric Doggett, coming to say hello, coming to offer me tacos, which is probably a euphemism. Not gonna say more. Not gonna say more.
It's not a euphemism.
Oh, did he really mean tacos?
I think he literally meant tacos.
Oh man, I thought he. My radar's way off.
He just ignored me.
He didn't even
Right over me.
he didn't even offer you
He didn't
any
even look at
tacos.
me.
He didn't offer you any tacos.
All the things I do for that guy. Wasted.
All the things I do it for tacos.
It's not even Taco Tuesday.
I think he was being facetious. I don't think he was talking about tacos. I think he just wanted to spy. Because he can't just go to Twitch and see the stream. He has to see it himself. He has to see it firsthand.
Scribble said, Dog is just salty because he had terrible rolls in their D&D session last night, which is absolutely true.
Oh man, I missed it.
It was nothing quite beat Melissa rolling 3 ones simultaneously. That was incredible. That Erickson said, you never turn down tacos. What kind of Spanglish-speaking Peruvian are you?
Yay, stereotypes. Believe it or not, the Peruvian cuisine is not very taco-centric. It's much more of a Central American thing. I lived in Mexico, and yeah, we ate a lot of tacos.
Staple of the Peruvian cuisine? Like, I guess for America, I think hamburger.
We eat a lot of yuca.
Yuca.
Yeah, it's like a potato, but different. Actually, fried yuca is amazing. It's really good. Again, I was pretty big as a kid because I had lots of yuca.
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans area, so everything I ate was deep fried when I was a kid.
Woo.
And boy, is it delicious, but it makes you fat pretty quick.
There are days where I'm just like, I just want to let it go and just give in. Eat all the foods. See other people eating all the foods. I'm like, I want to eat that foods. I want some fried chicken. Anyways, we don't have to talk about that. I'm sure the streaming audience is all like, oh, I want to feel really bad about all this food I'm about to eat at Christmas.
No kidding, dude. I'm like trying to recover from the sugar coma that Tommy's been putting me in. And John O'Neill's wife brought in fantastic cheesecake bars the other day.
Yeah, she does make good cheesecakes.
Jenny's awesome. She's way cooler than John.
You know how often that is true? That is the case, like how like wives are way cooler than their husbands. You're like, why are you with this guy? Like, I'm not saying that about John. I'm just saying in general. No, John's the exception to that rule.
So just a reminder, we're drawing the Templar here, Billy.
Oh yeah, if we're just
we're
tuning
drawing
in.
Templar.
Here, let me. So right now she's rough. She's in progress. I'm working on, here's the rough sketch, and I'm vectorizing her. It's gonna eventually look really detailed and lit up and stuff like the Myrmidon. So I'm just working and talking and making friends on the internet. Seriously, officer, that's all I'm doing.
Everyone's complaining we're talking about food because they're all hungry.
I'm sorry. Let's not talk about food. Again, I keep trying to bring up Star Wars, and like no one is talking about Star Wars. Come on, there's got to be some Star Wars conversations we can have.
There's a million we can have. I mean, half the team here worked on Galaxies.
That is true.
And the Old Republic.
I played through most of Knights of the Old Republic, and that was a really good game.
I love Knights of it's a great game.
I wonder if we'll ever get any like high production value movies from that like era of the Star Wars history. Actually, is that even canon anymore?
I was about to say, I think it's technically not canon anymore.
Oh man,
which sucks because I think it has some of the best writing of any of the Star Wars universe. And even like the old, did you ever play the Jedi Knight series with Kyle Katarn?
Mm-hmm.
Those were awesome too. Those are kind of gone now.
I guess, what we I think we were meant to see in the latest prequels, episodes 1 through 3, was like the fall of the Jedi, right? Which probably shows the Jedi at their weakest, right? If they were able to be overthrown, it means that they'd gotten comfortable and they weren't paying close enough attention, and then they basically were overthrown with really little effort. But at one point in the Star Wars universe, there was a time when like the Jedi were like really active, and there was like constant hunts for like the Sith, and you keep hearing about these like really epic battles between the two factions, right? And so we come into the prequels, and the Sith are all but dead. They don't believe that there's any around, so again they get fat and happy and comfortable and political and blah blah. But at some point, it was cool. I like to say at some point, Star Wars could have been Harry Potter, right? Like there was just a bunch of cool adventures happening at the Jedi schools. There's probably some Muggles that were, along for the ride.
Hobbits.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, Star Wars had a universe that had that level of adventure in it that we haven't seen. We kind of keep seeing the aftermath.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And I was really hoping that the original prequels were much more about like that kind of heyday adventure, but it was still a lot of, God, this is going to sound so dumb. It was like pre-aftermath. So it wasn't exciting.
It's math. It's the math.
It was math. That's all it was. It was math. Preceded with a $sign.
So let's step out just for a second back to UI.
Okay.
Durthal asked, so I have a bad habit of trying to look down on the battlefield, which messes with my targeting reticle. I'm always aiming at feet. Is there any chance of being able to move the targeting reticle to allow for a different camera angle?
Man, that's a great point. What are you looking at the ground for? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, well, maybe to see higher? I'm not really sure. I'll wait for a follow-up on that.
I mean, I'm thinking of like from my end, like the logistics of moving the cursor higher or lower. I mean, that's trivial, but in terms of like making sure that becomes the new like raycast pointer, I don't know. We'd have to like talk to engineering about it. But I mean, if that's something that people would want, we could get it in the hopper and consider, if and when that would make sense to add to our feature set. There's other camera features that we've talked about that might alleviate that as well. So I guess stay tuned. But no, we should log that, Max. I think that's actually that's a good question. It's a good point.
He said, I like looking from above a bit so I can get a better field of view. Yeah, I figured something like that. FPS view, so first person, make me nauseous and lightheaded. I can kind of see that. Get a little motion sick in those frantic fights when you're trying to hit all or land all your hits.
How do people like the latest builds?
Well, I'll let them answer that question.
I was going to say we had a question about the camera off, so we've had a question about crafting. I guess now's a good time if you want a more immediate answer about any other of the UI stuff. I could do my best.
So we do read through the forums as well, and all the bugs that you're seeing, they are logged. They are we know about them. It's just a matter of breaking away from our critical path, basically. Because every time we fix a bug, that means we've got to stop working on a feature that we absolutely need to hit a milestone. And some of those bugs will just disappear. I know Blair would tell me, that's wishful thinking, and he's probably right. But a lot of them do kind of go away as we roll out new features, and we look at some of our systems that were less stable before, and we rebuild them, we make them more robust, and we implement them. So I do know like the Ranger has quite a few UI issues right now that we just literally haven't really had time to address. And I think a lot of the crafting issues will be going away soon. That's our hope, at least. There's kind of an inventory overhaul going on in the background.
Yeah, when we look at a lot of those bugs, we always have to weigh them against what features we know are coming in the roadmap, and when we can either address the bug or when we know that the bug will just become redundant because of another change that we're doing. So yeah, if we're not moving on something quickly, it's not that we're not listening. It's that we have, there's a certain game plan that we have to stick to. Otherwise, if we stopped the car every single time there was a speed bump, right, then we'd never get to the destination. That's an analogy. But there are plenty of days where I miss doing dedicated illustration all the time. This is what I used to do for almost a decade before I got heavily into UI. It's funny, I got into UI because a lot of the senior artists that I worked with at the time, everyone had to do UI where I was working, but there was a bunch of projects that kind of no one was really kind of taking it upon themselves to work on, so I just kind of picked up the slack and became useful with UI and got into marketing and branding, and at some point that work became a lot more available than just doing 2D illustration. But I do love any excuse to come back, so that's the thing. Every single new archetype that we come out with, I'm trying hard to create a new vector poster for that I imagine at some point we actually will put out in a physical format, along with a lot of Dave's really great paintings that he's done already. Yeah, so there's actually a few archetypes that I missed the boat on that I'll have to kind of do later. So I haven't done a Legionnaire one, I haven't done a Confessor one. Let's see here. I actually have just a little preview of the future. I have a Confessor started. Hold on. Let's try that again. Here we go. Let's see here. So I have a Confessor started. She's a little hippie. I might update those proportions a little bit, but yeah, she's gonna be surrounded by a ring of fire and stuff. It's gonna be really cool. But I'll get to that when I get to that. The idea though is eventually we will have a vector poster of every base archetype. I don't really know if there'll be time to do all the gender swaps, but we'll see. Maybe it comes down to how much of an audience we have for this. I mean, this is what I like to do for fun, just to kind of keep my chops up. But if there's a number of people that play Crowfall that actually like these and want to get their hands on them, then yeah, I'll totally get more posters made.
I want to get some posters up in my house. Some Crowfall posters.
I'm doing all of these with this same kind of background treatment to them. Let's see here. I don't know if everyone's super familiar with all these Crowfall pieces that I've been doing. But this is one of the first ones I did. This is a knight. I think I did this one during the Kickstarter. They all have this kind of consistent background element. So I think the idea is when they're all done, they can line up a wall and all look very consistent and clean and they're part of a big set. I think the biggest challenge is, by the time I'm done with all these, it's gonna have been maybe 3 years, and just the level of detail from this guy to some of these newer ones, there's a bit of a jump, just because I took a little bit more time with the newer ones. But hopefully they'll still look good together. But yeah, so again, to give you context, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm working on some standalone illustrations that will, I'll put this out when it's done. I'll put it out digitally to the community, and then at some point I imagine we will actually have physical posters that we can print and ship out. It all comes to demand, so cast your vote. Quiet.
Sorry, there's actually a ton of questions. I'm just trying to address them. Let me scroll back up. I saw Duranthal had a good question.
I like Duranthal's questions.
So he first asked if we had a plan that will fix the LOD issues with nameplates and perhaps let us scale them to see names. We have one of our engineers, Sam, is actually looking into the nameplates, like literally as we speak. That's been kind of an issue for us for a while, and now we're finally at that block in the optimization chain where he's working on UI elements.
Yeah, and we don't have, like, let's say we don't have a firm date on when, I mean, anyone who's been following any of the UX updates over the past year especially, you've seen little glimpses of like controller customization and HUD customization and things along those lines. We don't have a firm date of when that stuff's gonna go live, but along with that will be options, I imagine options for being able to customize what those floating UIs actually look like, right? So if all you want to see is names, or if all you want to see are health bars and stuff, you can actually toggle on the elements. So definitely the first step there is getting them to work. But once we get them working, we can figure out how many little options we want to expose to y'all, so that if you're having trouble reading them, or if you want less information, that you'll have the option to do so.
Absolutely. Screelings asked, any plans to highlight the components from our inventory that would fit when you mouse over that slot in the crafting recipe? So basically cutting down the hunting for all the components that you need in that kind of list structure that we have right now, and basically streamlining it so that when you scroll over something, it just shows the components that you need, and you can put them in fast, I think is what the question is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I guess we are redesigning a lot of the presentation of the crafting screen, and so I think that particular problem will be addressed through other convenience features that we're putting into it. But yeah. A lot of times it's hard to know exactly how many quality of life polish features you need for something to feel really good. Once we got the original crafting wheel design in, and we like the aesthetics of it, and then the crafting actual system came online and we can get it in our hands, it really wasn't until then that we really realized how cumbersome it can be to go to the thing that you basically you can start either at the component level, or you can start at the kind of the project level. I want to build a sword. So you hunt. We have a search bar there, it doesn't work, but the idea is maybe you could even write the word sword, then all the sword recipes would come down. You click sword, and then you see 5 or so different boxes, right? And each one of those is their own recipe, and each one of those has subcomponents. And so after a while, you end up just hunting around in the UI instead of getting closer to your goal. And that, you do that 1 or 2 times, fine, but you start doing that, dozens of times, and it gets really, really tedious and kind of sucks the fun out. So we're definitely conscious of those things, and we're definitely fixing them as we move forward, right? So we're cleaning up the actual design of the UI so it's a little more streamlined, and at the same time, we're going to be putting features in place that allow you to basically start projects and have a much clearer view of your components and subcomponents all in one interface, as opposed to like hunting and hunting and hunting and then losing your place along the way. Let's see, I'm gonna do something fun here. So I've been, if anyone's actually watching the art, I've just kind of been carving paths with the path tool, right? And so let's talk Photoshop and Illustrator here real quick. So this whole layer is set to multiply, which means that anything dark is going to show up as opaque and anything light is going to show up as transparent. So I'm cutting white holes into this dark shape to create highlights inside of a shadow layer. That's what I'm doing here. And so I've been manually creating these shapes for the highlights. What I can do instead is I can use a brush with fun, let's see here, fun brush settings that I have to create some organicness. I don't know if you see, I'm using a brush here that's intended to simulate the way hair kind of lights. So this is like a hairbrush. So instead of like a really clean shape, I'm adding a little bit of noise and irregularity to make it feel a little bit more like hair. So these are things that when I was new to Illustrator, I couldn't really get into these types of techniques because these are a lot more, I'd say these are a lot more painterly techniques, and usually you don't come into Illustrator with that mentality. So this is little bits of polish that I like to add just to make things feel a little bit more organic, because vector art has a tendency to feel very manufactured, and that's part of the draw. You know, I actually like the very clean look. I want things to look like packaging art. Like I really like posters and like toy boxes and things from the 80s, and I think they all really had that kind of awesome airbrush, like illustrated quality to it. And so, but I do want to battle too much of that manufactured cleanliness, and I do that by, you know, putting some noise into the details and shading with these types of brushes. Any more UI questions?
Someone was asking about the take bug. Count Durkoff says, hey, you guys, do you have engineers working on that? I said, absolutely. It's just a tricky bug we can't reproduce it. We have no repro steps. You know, it happens to us every now and again, but we're working on an inventory overhaul behind the scenes, and we're hoping that makes it go away. Tinnis said, basically a burn down the house to get rid of the rats approach. Maybe a little bit of an extreme metaphor, but not too far off.
Extreme.
There's a lot of with game development, there's a lot of these features you build to get the game functional early on, really, to get a prototype and test out how the game actually plays. And later on, as the tech changes and as other engineers move in and start building their features, you realize you just got to go back and fix stuff. You got to go back and redo it and make sure that it's scalable.
I had a producer in the past phrase it as you know, you can survive with those things for a while, but at some point you have to drain the swamp. You know, you just have to drain the swamp and see where the bodies are.
Drain the swamp. Well, yeah. Basically, I mean that's iterative development, right? It's going back.
I think our community's been really good about this, but anyone who might not be fully aware, you know, I mean, game development is a lot of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Things could be working in one build that just break because something that you never knew was related was changed or removed, and then you have to kind of refactor, right? And you have to rewrite it and fix it and make it clean. And you know, that's the whole thing about prototyping. You know, you try to stand something up as quickly as possible so that you know what it looks like, so that you can kind of build expectations, but then you go back and then you build it correctly. What's difficult is sometimes when things work, it's easy to be fooled that they're going to work forever and that you could build upon them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're getting out of the habit of that. I mean, that should be a really good, you know, that should be a really good point for the audience to hear, is that that's not the type of studio that we are. We're very much, you know, we're going to get it up, we're going to put it in front of players because we need that player feedback. But at the same time, you know, we do have to take the time to clean things up so that we can make them scale in the future. Making the Templar. I think when it comes, see, I haven't done a Ranger yet. I think when I do the Ranger, I'm gonna give her brown hair. I think Dave's original concept had her with brown hair, but I think when the model that we use in the game feels like it's got a bit more of a reddish brown. But just to make sure there's no confusion between this Templar and the Ranger, whenever I get around there, I'm gonna make her hair a bit more brown. Where are all those questions, Max?
Well, I guess I have a question for you actually.
Please.
Where do you draw a lot of your drawing inspiration? How did you kind of develop your own personal style? What were some of your biggest influences?
Definitely the work of Joe Madureira and Battle Chasers. It was a comic that was pretty hot in the 90s, and now it's back with a new video game that was kickstarted last year.
Is that
And
Night War? Is that what it's called?
yeah, Battle Chasers Night War. Joe's work was like the precursor to a lot of like American like manga influenced styles that basically there's tons of copycats, but Joe's definitely one of the first that like, you know, brought his own vibe to that style. But so my work doesn't look anything like his. I think his is a lot more interest and a lot more energy. I draw a lot of my inspiration from like pinup art, like Elfgren, Scott Campbell, Adam Hughes, and a lot of times, you know, you've got like interesting things happening, but it's a lot more like portraiture. So you don't have like, you know, bodies in action and stuff like that. It's a lot more of like, you know, nice poses and beautiful rendering, and that's the kind of style that I think I execute well on. Like I keep wanting to do something that's got like a lot more energy to it, but I think that's really difficult to do in vector. Versus like, let's say like a digital painting or something that's more hand done, where you can like let the hand give you that energy, which is probably why like this original sketch, there is some energy to the face that isn't quite coming through in the vector just yet, and that's something that I'm gonna work hard to preserve as I continue working on this piece. But yeah, Joe and Jim Lee, I think I was like 8 or 10 when the X-Men comics were rebooted in the 90s, and that's where you get like a lot of the more popular designs for like Cyclops and Wolverine and stuff. Jim Lee was huge. Just like I'd look at his work all the time and just kind of copy it. But yeah, so it's just kind of a combination of styles, and then really like what I'm able to pull off in vector, since, you know, Adobe Illustrator is my main tool. Like I do Photoshop painting, but I'm not as skilled in that as I am with toolset as I am in Illustrator. So I definitely favor Illustrator, and it's really only good for a subset of art styles, right? It really can't handle lush painterly styles. Like if you look at like a Dave Greco piece, like it's very difficult, if not impossible, to emulate that style in vector art, which again is part of what makes it cool and special. In the same way, like it's possible to do vector style graphics in Photoshop, but the tool set's not really built the same way Illustrator is. So the results, I think, are always going to be better in Illustrator if that's the style you're going for. So I'm not sure if anyone in the audience is a graphic designer or aspiring graphic designer. It just takes practice. If you ever use Illustrator, it's got a really non-user friendly interface, and it's tons of tools, and it all looks familiar. Like it looks very similar to Photoshop, but it actually doesn't behave the same way as Photoshop. So there's a lot of early frustrations, but if you can get over the hurdle, I definitely recommend it. It's a very empowering tool.
Your process is very interesting to watch. It's cool to watch someone come from, I mean, kind of a marketing background, and transition into really awesome stylized art like this. And I was a marketing major. We used tools like this, but seeing them applied to like character art is really neat. It's inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a tool, right? And you can do any subject matter in this if you want. You just have to know how to, I guess, express those ideas with the tool set. Ugh, I don't like that lighting. I'll figure this part out of the sash out in just a sec. I like this guy. See? That guy's got like a nice little curve to him. Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm not just boring the hell out of everyone. Like I said, I'm just working. If there's any demand from the stream here, if you want to know specific Illustrator tips and tricks, I could definitely do that. You know, I could make it a little bit more of a formal tutorial over what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's just just me working in my native habitat.
We actually got a couple questions about chat.
Let's do it.
You've worked on, and actually there are some chat improvements coming. I believe Lars has been working on some cool. It makes the chat look cleaner. We've seen that in our internal builds. I suspect you'll see that rolled out this weekend. But these questions are about a combat log. We're thinking about adding a combat, basically a combat log channel to determine what power is doing what to us. X hits you for 3,300 with obliterate. You take 900 bleed damage. You've been killed by so and so.
Mm-hmm.
Are
Yep.
those plans in the pipe?
Oh yeah. I mean, at
I
some
knew the answer. It's yes, but that's strange.
yeah, and really at this point, Lars and I have largely broken features apart, where we're each one of us is trying to kind of own a subset of those features, just so we can get more done. So Lars has inherited the future of chat when it comes to UX. So I think the real benefit there is Lars has a real good head on his shoulders when it comes to like real UX, like the user experience and making it feel good and seamless. And he's not held back by only thinking about, oh, what does this MMO do? How does this MMO solve this problem? He thinks bigger. He thinks, what do other products do to solve this problem? And so his body of knowledge is a little more broad. And I think that's really good to have for something like chat, because we do use really good chat tools outside of games. I mean, I'm constantly on, I think I've moved away from the built-in messaging app inside my iOS to the Facebook Messenger, because I feel like I actually have more access to people there, and there's just a lot of really good quality of life features there, and multitasking and stuff. And so if we approach chat with that mentality, we don't think of it as like a game feature, but we think of it as like a product feature that should be on par with any other like social media platform and stuff. Then I think we're going to get some really good UX out of it. And so yeah, Lars is on top of that.
There's more questions for you. Scribbles asked, what's your favorite part of drawing in general? Is there a certain style, feature, environment?
Ooh.
What do you like to draw?
Characters. I like characters because I think I like storytelling. Before I started in games, I was a comic artist. I used to draw comics, and my first job out of college was actually doing a graphic novel adaptation for a movie that was circulating around the time. And I really like that. I like depicting stories in graphics. And what's cool about it, that type, like narrative art, is it uses a lot of the same triggers as UX and UI. So what you're trying to do in a UI, right, is with as little text as possible. I know it's impossible for a game like this, but with as little text as possible, trying to show the functionality of something just by the way it looks and by the way it makes your eye kind of follow like a flow or whatever, right? So there's tricks that you use to do visual communication to tell, kind of a story with a UI. What is this thing supposed to do? Oh, this is telling me my health, or this is telling me my powers, or this is telling me how long I have before I can use a power, right? And all those things are really intuitive. Those are the same mechanisms that you use to tell a story and say something like a comic book, right? There's a visual language that you learn for how to convey something through pictures alone. And that's my favorite type of art to make, is a graphic that communicates something. And those skills have been used largely to communicate product functionality and value, so like marketing. But when I get a chance, I love just doing straight character-based or narrative, right? So really, with all these character pieces, I'm trying to capture this character's kind of like essence, right? With the pose, with the colors, with the lighting. Going back to the Myrmidon, just the severity of his pose, him standing on a pile of bones, that all tells a story. And if you look really closely, there's like a little, I implied like a Ganetian skull. And so I don't know if this is actually part of the official lore or not, but in my head, I created a rivalry between the Myrmidons and the Ganetians, right? They're two beast classes, but one has a higher intellect than the other, and the other one has a lot more physical capacity than the other, and so it's almost like they're polar opposites. And just for my own fun, I created like a narrative justification for that detail, and then I think it makes the piece more interesting. So those are the things that are super fun to work on. When I can step away from like what's just the functional purpose of this screen or the functional purpose of this graphic, when I can take a step beyond that and say, okay, now that I understand the function, how can I make it fun? How can I make it engaging? Because we're making entertainment at the end of the day, I mean, if this thing is too cold and sanitary, then no one's gonna get into it. So that's just those are all the things that go through my head whenever I work on these things, regardless of it being a character piece or icons for the UI or even just framing for the UI.
So it is 12:05. We can run a little bit long. It's totally fine. But you wanna wrap up with answer a couple more questions?
Yeah, please. I don't know if there's any technical reason why we couldn't just keep it rolling. I mean, like I'm just working on this, so.
All right. I mean, we can keep rolling.
Let's keep rolling.
I mean, I got work to do, Billy. So there's that.
What? This isn't your work?
This is work.
Hey, you're doing great. I'm glad no one has pointed out that I haven't like drawn all this chainmail in here, like all these little light gray areas right here and down here. That is going to be some pretty intricate chainmail that I will do, but I'm going to cheat it. In Illustrator, what's great is you can create patterns and then apply patterns, and then you can morph the patterns so that they kind of flow in like an organic shape. So I'm going to create a chainmail pattern, apply it to her arm, and then I'm going to shape it in a way that makes it look like it's folding and bending with the folds and stuff that I've applied here. Yeah.
I can't wait to see the finished product of this.
Hmm?
I can't wait to see the finished product. And when you're actually done with all the archetypes, I'm gonna get all the prints and put them on my wall or something.
It'll be fun, man. Yeah, like I keep going back to this just so that let me show you what this guy looked like at the stage that I'm at with the Templar. Right. So let's see here. All right. So I'm at this stage where I'm just kind of getting the shading in, right? And eventually I'll go back to the flats layer and add a little bit more depth and stuff. But there's all sorts of stuff that then gets added in. You get hard shadows, specular highlights, additional lighting, top level lighting, background details. Let's see what else we have. And yeah, so once I get all these other layers kind of applied here. She should be pretty rad. I don't want to call it too soon. You know, there's still a lot of problems I want to fix. I want to fix her eye. I want to fix these hands. I want to fix her nose and mouth so it matches the sketch a little bit better. Those are all things I was supposed to do last night, but I decided it made more sense to just fall asleep on the floor of my office instead. Yeah, this week's been brutal. I've been juggling so much. And we're prepping the house right now to like move, and it's like everything is happening all at the same time, as it usually does around the holidays, I think.
It's a hectic time. We're trying to get as much as we possibly can done for Crowfall, and then some of us with like a brief break.
Here, let's see if
go
we can
enjoy Christmas with family.
Let's see if we can do something fun here. I'm gonna use a tool called Gradient Mesh. Let's see if I can make this work to my advantage. Sometimes Gradient Mesh can be a little finicky. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just tracing the general shape of the face. And you'll see why in just a second. So when you talk about like Illustrator being able to actually get some organic blending and more brushy, airbrushy looking stuff, the Gradient Mesh is a tool that you can use that allows that kind of thing. So let me, this may or may not work. All right, so let's take that shape. I'm going to put it here, find the Gradient Mesh tool. Let's click. All right, so what Gradient Mesh does is it's a little like 3D modeling. You can create essentially a cage and then shape that cage around the contours of a face, and each one of these points, so when I say it's a little like 3D modeling, if you're used to working in like CAD or Max or whatever, or Maya, whenever you have a 3D model, you'll have vertices on that model that you can push and pull to sculpt the contours of that model. So what I'm doing I'm doing an approximation of that in 2D space, but each one of these verts that I have, you notice here, they all have a color assignment, but if I change that color, you'll see that it is blending that new color between the different verts. So each one of these verts has a color. I just changed this one to a slightly darker color. I kind of like that one. Let me add that to my swatch library so I can use it elsewhere. And anywhere where I want to kind of modify that and have a smooth blend, see how it's blending like super smooth, but it's not just a flat gradient. It's actually following the contours that I set, and I can set, you know, if there's like folds or whatever. So like for cloth, you can have very, very severe transitions between the colors in order to create things like folds. I don't know if you can see there's like a harder cut here around her cheek. Yeah. So sometimes I use this tool to create more softer lighting details, which is really nice on things like skin, especially if you're going for something that looks more like an airbrush pinup, right? So I'm just adding some hotter specular highlights in some of these areas, and then around the edges it makes a lot of sense to go dark. This hair layer here, let me select this and lock it. So I'm selecting the hair and I am locking it. So now I can get my edges of this Gradient Mesh, and let's see what happens if I darken it a little bit. What I'm hoping happens is that it looks like there's a little depth towards the hair, and that there's a little occlusion that's happening where the hair meets the skin. I don't want it. Yeah, I don't want it to go too severe, because I do plan on having a dedicated hard shadow layer, which is easier to like create those really deep shadows. But what I'm just trying to do is just create a little occlusion, because it just pops it a little bit, right? It just kind of creates some of that soft skin tone, soft tonal detail, right? And so, like I said, when you create your mesh, and I can continue to refine this. I can have as many intersecting lines and verts as I want, but it's very difficult to manage after a while, because just like a high poly model, you're having to keep track of all those verts and all the details, and it kind of gets unwieldy. So right about where I'm at is kind of where, let me do one more at the lip line. What's cool is if anyone's familiar with 3D, like what hopefully this looks like is like when you actually have a 3D face and you see the cage and you see where you normally would want to have those separation lines is kind of where I've lined things up, right? So I have a line cutting across the center of the eye. I've got a line cutting across the bottom of the nose, the center of the mouth, things like that, because those are the areas where you've got these really intense intersections of detail, right? So you've got like a kind of a smooth cheek, but then you've got like a severe like nose that pops out, right? And what that does is it creates some really interesting lighting detail and opportunity kind of here at the point at where the lip meets the nose, and similarly where the brow kind of tucks into where the nose hits at the top. So a good knowledge of 3D can really go a long way when you're illustrating. Actually, good knowledge of 3D is just something that is worth having if you're any kind of an artist.
Well, and especially for games. I mean, I'm a producer with little artistic talent, but even I want to start dabbling in 3D just so that I can understand the pipeline for it. And because it's fun. I mean, it's really cool, and I think a lot of us aspire to make 3D games long after Crowfall is wildly successful.
Yeah,
it's just good to know how to do that stuff.
That was my Christmas project. I was gonna do a ZBrush course, because I came up in the world of 3ds Max.
Yep. And
kind of traditional box modeling, and I've done a couple things in ZBrush, but nothing real serious. Nothing with nothing I'm gonna share. But it's a fascinating tool, and what I like about it is it's so organic, right? You can think of a detail that you want to add and just kind of get to it. You don't have to. It's not as technical. Believe it or not, the interface is kind of wild, but like the actual act of sculpting is so much less technical, because you're not having to like look at a box, then subdivide it, and then subdivide it more, and then create proxies, and do this whole backup loop just so that you can have the opportunity to add detail. Like you just kind of just do it in ZBrush, and I want to get to that point. I want to, not for any other reason than I want to make toys. I just want to make my own toys.
You're like the opposite of Hermie the elf. You don't want to be the dentist. You want to make toys.
That's right.
They keep saying I look like Hermie. Can you see that?
From the Rankin Bass?
No.
The Rankin Bass cartoon, right?
Is it, oh, yeah. Yes. Misheard you.
It's the hair.
I know.
Let's see here. So, I don't know if anyone's following along here. I'll show you what the tone looked like before. So this is what the face looked like a second ago before I went into the gradient mesh tool. And so it's, it's fine. It's got like a skin tone color, but then you add the gradient mesh, and now there's an opportunity for a lot of these really nice kind of airbrushy skin rendering, which normally would take a lot of additional shapes and blending, and this is just if you know how to use that tool, it's just a really good way to just jump right in and get that airbrush detail. So this is not done. I'll keep working on it as I go. I'd say this piece probably still has about a night or two left of work on it. I do these in my off hours, so when we're done with this stream, I'm actually going to get back to real work. But at night, I take this work home and kind of just jam out, take my time with it. Too much going on. I have like 4 PlayStation games that are still in the wrapping that I haven't, that are just sitting on my desk waiting to be played. Yep. So right here I'll add a little shading, get some of that occlusion in under the lip. All right, we should let's add some light. Is that a real harsh? I'll fix that thing in the back, but let's get a real nice heavy highlight there. All right, any other UI questions?
So actually, we had a few more questions about art. So Kate asked earlier, a while ago, are there any great free open source Illustrator alternatives on the market? So if someone was interested in doing this and didn't have Illustrator, is there anything you would recommend?
Yeah.
Microsoft Paint?
No, well, I mean, you can't do, to my knowledge, you can't do vector art in Paint. There was, I don't think it's around anymore, but there was something called the Aviary, I think a while back, which was it was like a web-based Adobe killer. And they were pretty awesome, but I don't think they could figure out how to make the money work, so it never took off. If you want, let me follow up in like a forum post or something. There's actually a link that a close friend of mine sent me the other day that was talking about the awesome vector tools and that it was a free program. But no, I've kind of stuck with Illustrator. I've tried other vector programs, and this one it's beyond just a vector drawing program. It's a suite, right? I can do a whole lot with it beyond just illustration. I can do text layouts, and I can do print layouts and things. Some people use InDesign for their print layouts, but I think I know Illustrator better at this point than InDesign, so I'll do it all in Illustrator. So I'll do plenty of like pamphlets and PDFs and stuff straight from Illustrator. Also, little known fact, if you have PDF documents like that you have to sign or whatever, and you don't have the means to do it either through like an online plugin or if you don't have PDF Pro, if you have Illustrator, just open the PDF in Illustrator and it's a full editable thing, right? So then you can fill in the fields and then like sign your name if you have like a Wacom or whatever, or you can do it with your mouse and then resave it and it'll save back as a PDF and you can send it right along. See? Learning all sorts of stuff today.
Excuse me. Tinnis asked, ever considered letting users scale the numbers on local client they see for damage and healing? For example, instead of 50,000, you scale everything down by times 10 or times 100, or even see values in percentages.
Oh, that's interesting, like number scale.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. You know what? That's such a new concept based on what we have that like, I guess if you change the scale of it, are you talking about scaling both ways, up and down? Because if that's the case, like scaling down would be really difficult because we could have pretty granular numbers. And then what would that end up looking like to you? Like a small number and then with like a decimal and stuff?
Right.
Yeah, I think it could be problematic. I'd just rather have like a scale slider for the font size. That's probably something we can handle. The other one seems like we'd have to figure out what our actual number scale is because I imagine it would break.
Right.
Right. All right. So going back to a little bit of that face tone along with the shading layer that I had been doing, and you can kind of see, little by little the pieces coming. Let's make some gold. You wanna make some gold? Let's make a gold gradient. Now that we have our gold bits.
Silver and gold.
She has silver on her too, doesn't she?
On every Christmas Templar.
We have Christmas Templars?
Nice. We're doing that. Are you gonna do one of those holiday cards with the Templar? Put a little hat on her, or
That would be perfect.
you should do that.
Man, I should have thought of that.
For people who
Max.
don't know, and I think it's still going on. I remember Val posted about it at the beginning of December. There was a Crowfall holiday illustration contest where we were asking people to basically submit Crowfall art with a holiday theme, and that we would share it. Some of the top ones. I'll have to check and see if that's still going on. 5th of December. I don't see that she set a deadline. So the pieces have to be 1200 pixels by 800 pixels, and you just send them to community@crowfall.com, and we'll feature the best ones on our website. So if you want to make some cool holiday themed Crowfall art, please send that to us. And Billy should do one too.
Oh yeah, man. You know I would. I'm just.
Did you see Dave's with he had the stalker with the Rudolph nose on his. He did like some nice snow in the background.
Dave's so cool. You know what? Doggett's cool. Come on in. The people want to see you, Doggett. No one can see that. No, I can see that. No one can see that. Sorry, everyone.
What are we doing today?
Billy's drawing pictures.
I'm just pretending to be an artist for a little bit.
You should hop in and just wave.
Yeah, man. Just say hi, because I don't know. No one seems to want to talk about Star Wars, so
Yeah?
I keep throwing it out there. Keep throwing it out there. No,
Nobody's seen Star Wars yet.
the reviewers have. IGN saw it.
They did?
Yeah, they liked it.
I like Star Wars.
But Empire Magazine didn't like it. So they're obviously getting paid by DC. That's how that works, right?
DC. Oh. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard to keep track of all the IPs Disney owns at this point.
Yeah, but it's easier to keep track of what they don't own.
Right.
Like Harry Potter and Batman.
It's only a matter
They
of
don't own
time.
Harry Potter yet?
No?
What would,
Give it time.
I guess what would be the benefit? I guess you mean money.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
All right, Harry Potter Star Wars crossover.
That was a joke. I know. You're a wizard, Harry. I'm reading Harry Potter to my kid at home, and I get to do all the voices. And I get a little stumped on Dumbledore because I try to do the original Dumbledore where he's a little strained. But then sometimes I try to do the Michael Gambon Dumbledore where he's a little bit more assertive. And I think my kid is really confused.
Now, when I read books to Cook, when I was reading the third Harry Potter to him, I always did Dumbledore as Gollum. Yes, Harry.
Yes, Harry.
Yes, you shall want Harry. Is that how Gollum sounds?
No.
You ruined it. You ruined Quidditch.
Oh, good grief.
Yeah, like, what house would you be in? Snapendor?
Snapendor?
Can we make that?
Dumbledore?
Let's make that public
Dumbledore.
knowledge right now.
That what?
That John O'Neill thought Snapendor
Was a
Was-
Harry Potter house?
was a Harry Potter house.
I don't know.
I'll spell that in chat. I know there's a delay, so I'm gonna wait because I feel like
Yeah.
they need the full impact of understanding the cultural ignorance someone has to have. I think Snapendor is a house. Dumblebar, right?
Dumbledore, Snapendor.
Oh, John.
Look, man, leave Brittany alone.
No, people are gonna think I'm like picking on John. John picks on me all the time. It's tough love.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be. I just don't necessarily want to get sucked into the whole snowflake war.
Yeah.
That's
Why don't you just come sit next to me and Cook?
I might.
We're much nicer.
so. Let's see here. I'm just trying to
I
make
think
metal.
Gordon likes me to be where I am because he can kind of yell down. Max, fix the game.
Yeah.
You know.
You haven't fixed it yet?
I created a Jira ticket for it. There's a ticket for fix Crowfall.
That's how you fix things.
It's assigned to Mr. Mike and it's not done yet.
But anyway, where were we about me reading to Cook?
Oh yeah.
Um,
What voices? You can't figure out which voice to use.
Yeah, well.
Gollum door.
like I always imagine, you know, like Harry Potter, like not as Daniel Radcliffe, but maybe like a young Harrison Ford.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
like Quidditch is amazing.
That
I
that
is that Harrison Ford?
I mean
It's close enough.
yeah. Because I can't do a
that
British
that,
accent.
that actually looked that sounded a lot like Bridges. Is it Jeff Bridges?
What about
The dude?
Bridges?
The dude.
Yeah, of
But
course.
in True Grit.
Oh, Rooster Cogburn.
Oh yeah.
That was a little
I
rooster.
did not recognize that man.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I think that might be a little bit of the Alabama drawl coming out naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Let me carry this one-armed girl for 20 miles.
I hope
I'll save her from a snake bite. I like marshmallows, cream pie,
Crowfall chat.
corn.
It's devolved into how to balance Quidditch, and when you think about it,
Dude, this is what the holidays are about. You know, let's put work aside. Let's talk about the things that matter. Harry Potter, NES Classics, Star Wars, Rogue One.
Yeah.
Rogue.
we're back to that.
Wait. Is there gonna be a Rogue 2?
Do you remember when we were doing, was it Sling Blade quotes of Star Wars, or was it
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Oh, I really want to go to the space station, but my uncle won't let me. I guess I'll do it next season.
Urtini. That's me being a Buffalo Bill Jawa.
I was just.
Oh. Buffalo D2?
Yeah.
This is so weird.
Chaka.
Look, I just want everyone to know that we have fun.
Yeah.
We have fun. Oh no, those gradients don't look good with that shading. Grody bone. I'm gonna have to.
I was in love once, but
Gonna have
turned out to be my sister.
Oh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, good, she found someone.
Whoever enchanted the bludgers to only seek out the seeker had the right idea. Yeah, exactly. I think it was it Jon Stewart? It said like, why doesn't everyone just go for the snitch? For crying out loud. Just catch the thing and you win.
So I had never read the Harry Potter books until last night. I was at the part where Harry is taught how to play Quidditch, right? And so that was the first time I ever really understood the rules. And yeah, the whole time I was thinking, wait a second, why do you have all these extra things when snitch is all that matters?
Well, there was actually games won with, like the snitch just basically ends the game. You can actually win the game, lose the game, and still catch the snitch.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a game that went for like several weeks until they finally found the snitch, because like the seeker got bonked on the head or something like that, and the other seeker was really bad. So it took them like a really long time to find the snitch, and it was just like a mercy snitch catching. I don't know, like Buffalo Bill as Dumbledore. I mean, like, in the end, because like Dumbledore's a good guy, it would just sound like the police chief from Monk. Harry, have you gotten that memory from Slughorn yet? It's really important if you do.
Oh man.
Seriously, I'm just waiting for more UI questions.
He told me that you killed him.
Okay, so like let's assume that because I'm not getting a bunch of UI questions, I'm not even working on UI, that this might be the last time I do a live stream of art. Let's pretend. Let's hope not, but let's pretend. Let's make it count.
I like to hope for good things in the future. I enjoy your live streams. Your art is beautiful, like you.
Oh, thanks, dog it.
I
in fact-
second that.
Yeah, and you know, like you talked about you being a chubby child.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been chubby, like leaning on the side of fat and overly fat and constantly sweaty. But I mean, like I found somebody that loved me.
It's true.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean,
Except, well, and my wife.
I meant he's awesome.
Yeah, we're
I'm
talking
talking about Cook.
Billy.
Oh, Billy.
Cook doesn't love or appreciate me. It's just it's a one-way street.
He
with
loves.
Cook.
No, he loves you.
Really?
Yeah, he has a weird way of showing it.
Yeah, by throwing away gifts.
He's just playing hard to get.
He threw away a gift.
He threw away the ball I gave him.
He's afraid you won't be interested anymore if you.
It's true. I do like a challenge.
He knows that about you because y'all are besties.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
And your wife.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Man.
oh, yeah.
There's your wife as well.
Okay.
Alice is cool.
I think
She's
I,
cool.
I think I found my hair color variant that I want to put on my Templar.
Not red.
No, man, she looks really cool as gray hair.
Yeah.
Really? Wait. Can you? I'm sorry. There's a delay, so I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, gray hair. Do brown hair. Man, she looks. I like all that hair. Purple hair. Should be like the druid.
Cook said it. Now it's time to leave the stream.
Oh man, look, she could be like Psylocke. Are y'all up to date? Are you seeing it yet?
Oh, I'm seeing it now. Ooh, that is awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I dig that.
So what people don't know is they're getting a preview of character customization. So what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna add a little
Why
gradient.
don't we have any blonde? Do we have a blonde character? Where's our blonde? What's with the discrimination against blondes?
Just give me blonde.
Let's make her. I like that purple. That was pretty sick.
Oh wow, she actually looks really Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
See? That's why
She's a paladin-like character. I think a blonde, with the kind of angelic look, platinum hair maybe.
So it's because you're a blonde.
That may have a small part to do with it. I want to feel represented.
Well, I have to say you have really nice hair, Max, and I think the reason why John is so mean to you is because, well,
he's jelly.
Oh.
yeah, his
Thank
hair all
you,
ran down
John.
to his back a long time ago.
What would you say about his back hair?
Oh, all of his hair ran down to his back.
And
Yeah,
now,
wasn't Joan of Arc brunette? I just feel like that's a.
well, maybe. Who am I thinking of then? I feel like just a moment ago, she looked a lot like a character that I've seen in movies or TV. You know what I mean? Who does that look like? I don't know. All right, I'm just adding a little gradient just to add a little interest. I mean,
Wow, Billy, you're really good. We need to start paying you, man.
you know what? Nah, man. I like working for free.
That's what I like to hear.
Shh. That's not true, by the way. If you're an artist, don't work for free. Work for sandwiches. Work for a cup of noodles. Work for something. Yeah.
We can pay you in cups of noodles if you would prefer that.
I'll tell you what. Let me.
Be better for us.
I'm gonna skip to this cool like bright light pattern. Let's do that really quickly, just so that we can get that cool intense lighting from behind.
Give her some tiger stripes, some black highlights.
Let's see here. So I can show off some more Illustrator tricks here. I could take a shape, and then I can duplicate it. If I wanted to follow the sketch pretty closely, duplicate it, and then just really quickly shape it. I don't know if that saves any time or not.
He is a good artist.
Guys, the stream is not intended for me to promote my ArtStation, which if you go to artstation.com and just type Billy Garretsen, you'll get some of my Crowfall pics there. I just like doing art. I don't get to do it as often, and more often these days I'm solving UX problems. But when I'm not doing that, I'm chasing a 4-year-old. When I'm not doing that, I'm drawing redheads.
Get kicked out of Chuck E. Cheese for that, man.
Chasing after 4-year-old redheads? Oh, man.
mind, it's 12:36.
Oh, man.
It's, we should probably start wrapping
I'm
up.
talking about like your niece or nephew. Duh. Wait, hold on. Yeah, no, we can.
Nicholas Weinreiter said, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, please. I feel like we're going off the rails.
He said,
I just really want to get.
was it the Buffalo Bill Dumbledore that threw it off? Was that the?
Oh, my
The
scores!
wand chooses the wizard, Harry.
Terrible. Nicholas Weinreiter said, funny story, I actually linked to Dave, Eric, and Billy's art stations in a recent project for my game design class.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
You
should, because they're good artists.
I like Dave's a lot. I steal Dave's color palettes all the time because he's got a really good eye for color. Seriously, I mean, he really uses purple well. He puts purples and pinks in areas that you wouldn't expect. And his pieces always look very lush and vibrant. So yeah, his color studies are really fun. All right, hold on a second here. Let me clean this area up. Get my cheat sheet out of the way. What is this? There's a layer with something here. Uh-oh. Let's just unlock everything. Okay, yeah. Whatever the shit this is. There we go. All right. Let's clean some of this up. And there's still a lot left to do on this piece, but I think it'll look really fun with these rays. Let's see if I can get a sweet fade out gradient going here. It's a technical term. It's the fade out gradient. Come on. Let's try that again. All right. I think it needs more. I think it needs more brightness in the center. So let's try this again. For the time being, if we just give it a little lightness. When I'm done with it, she's gonna have a glow like around her also, like a stroke and stuff, and yeah, that'll be good. But anyhow, we can call it at that. If you guys if you think we've gone off the rails enough and there's not a lot of UI questions coming in, we can call it at that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'm gonna take my time and finish this one and make it super duper pretty, and then when it's done, we will put it out to the community. And yeah, man, we'll hope to see you in game and hope you look forward to all the cool goodies that we're adding in the coming weeks. Happy holidays from the Crowfall team.
Yep. Happy holidays, and tune in at 2 o'clock for Mark Hallish designing a Templar power on stream.
Yeah, Mark will be a little bit more informative, I think, to actual game stuff. Anyhow. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.